Let's see, home invasion. I hate watching home invasion stories because everything is just so dumb.
This story happened like 10 years ago.
Okay.
I grew up in a smallish house. For the majority of my childhood, I shared a bedroom with my older brother.
Right.
2 twin beds on opposite sides of the room, 2 dressers and 2 closets.
That's
We
a
didn't
pretty
even have
comfy
enough room
setup.
for a desk. It wasn't cramped, but it wasn't exactly comfortable either. So when my brother went away to college, I immediately moved his bed out of the room and commandeered the space, so to speak. With his permission, of course. I was finally at the age where a bedroom desk was a necessity, so it was nice not having to do homework in the basement or upstairs in my dad's office.
I don't like the background.
That arrangement worked seamlessly for the 2 years before I myself went off to college, at which point I wasn't living at home anymore, so it didn't matter. After graduating, my brother got a city job in our hometown area, so we ended up moving back into my parents' house. And the first thing he does, you
Move
guessed
everything
it,
back.
he sees our bedroom that I had spent months of expended effort redesigning.
Do you need a free easy
Wow.
way to capture your gameplay?
Bro.
Introducing Outplay. Record anything on your PC.
I was a little
minute
irritated
in?
at first, but my parents contextualized it by saying I had basically done the same thing to him, so it was only fair.
Not really. He left.
I couldn't argue with that, so I just accepted it. By the time I graduated, I had also found a city job, so I opted to move back into my parents' house.
As well?
Just like my brother had.
You know, okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't have a room anymore, so I'd have to make other arrangements. The only other...
What are we talking about right now? They just said you did the same thing. He left and came back, so you got the room. Now you're leaving and coming back, so shouldn't it be split? What are we doing?
Unused room in the house was our upstairs guest bedroom.
Okay.
So even though it was half the size of my old room, it would have to do the trick. The guest room was right next to my dad's office, which was the only other room on that floor. It was also directly above the garage, which meant every time someone clicked the garage door button, the whole floor would vibrate for the full 10 seconds it took the door to open.
Okay.
The room kind of overhangs the house slightly since it's on the corner, so there were 2 windows on intersecting walls, one overlooking the driveway and one overlooking one of the sides of the house. It wasn't ideal, but it was private and quiet most of the time. This particular incident happened on a Friday evening when I was home alone.
Right.
My brother was in Baltimore for some work-related conference, and my parents were spending the night at our family shore house like they did most summer weekends.
Okay.
I was coming off an absolutely grueling day at work, so I
You go home
decided
and go
not
to
to go
sleep.
out with any of my friends or
Right.
even leave the house.
W.
Just wanted to order some food and call it an early night. It was around 11:30.
Maybe play some Mario Kart World or
lying
something.
in bed reading a book, trying to unwind from the day. The house was completely quiet, which was kind of nice since it's usually pretty chaotic when everyone's home. That's when I heard the unmistakable sound of the garage door starting to rise, followed by that all too familiar vibrating of the floor that I'd gotten used to over the past few months.
Okay.
It took a few seconds for it to really hit me. None of my family members should have been home. My parents had specifically said that they were staying at the shore house until Sunday night, and my brother wasn't supposed to be back until Saturday afternoon.
Start calling people.
It took several seconds for that realization to fully sink in, but when it did, my heart started racing. I immediately jumped out of bed and looked out the window toward the driveway, but it was too dark to make out anything clearly. I could see that the garage door was open.
See, this is why I hate these kinds of stories, because nobody has common sense, right? Like, all you have to do is, oh, hey, the garage is opening and nobody's supposed to be home. What's going on? Let me call moms, let me call pops, let me call brothers, see what's happening. Nobody says they're home, I'm calling the police. I got a knife in my hand, I got a bat in the other hand, 911's already on speakerphone. Like, we're not playing these games. Get your ass over here now, somebody's in my house. They gonna get busted up with a bat and then shanked the fuck up. What are we doing right now? What's really going on?
But I couldn't tell if there was a car inside or who might have opened it. Without another thought, I rummaged through the closet until I found one of the baseball bats my parents had thrown in
W
there
baseball
in my younger
bat.
days. As I was quietly walking down the stairs, I tried convincing myself that there was a logical explanation for the garage door opening.
There's not. Call the police.
Maybe my parents had forgotten something and driven back.
Call them.
Maybe my brother's plans changed.
Call them.
Hell, maybe the door had glitched and opened on its own.
Call the
I got to
police.
the bottom of the stairs. Right before turning the corner toward the main part of the house, I could hear faint voices. The voices were definitely coming from the other side of the house, where all the bedrooms were. They were too quiet for me to make out what they were saying, but I could tell that there were at least 2 people talking. That's when I knew for certain that someone had broken into our house. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, whispering
This
my
is
address
taking
and telling
way
the
too
operator
long
that my
to
house
get
was
there.
currently being burglarized. I left the call live and put the phone back in my pocket like they tell you to. The operator told me to stay put and not to announce my presence, but I felt this overwhelming urge to defend my house. It was like I was being compelled by some invisible force to do something rather than just hide and wait. So against the operator's instruction, I decided that's exactly what I was gonna do.
See?
I crept down the hallway
L.
toward the voices, clutching the baseball bat as tightly as I could. As I got closer to my parents' bedroom, I could hear the sounds of drawers being opened and things being moved around. They were clearly searching for something valuable. I took a deep breath, knowing that what I was about to do was probably stupid, but
Yes.
unable to stop myself. I started yelling as loudly as I could to catch them off
L.
guard.
L
I
take.
charged
But he
into
has the
room
bat.
with the baseball bat raised above my head.
Exactly.
There were two men rummaging through my mother's closet, and they both yelled out in shock when I burst through the door. I could tell they hadn't expected anyone to be home, let alone someone willing to fight back. That gave me confidence, despite the fact that I was outnumbered and they could have
Poor
easily
decision.
had weapons of their own. I swung the bat at the closer of the two men, connecting with his leg. He cursed and hobbled a few steps before falling over. I
Did you
turned to
keep
the other
swinging?
one, but before I could get a clean swing at him, he dropped his shoulder and tackled me before I could react.
Okay.
The two of us hit the ground hard, and I immediately realized that this guy was significantly larger and stronger than me. He wrestled the bat out of my hands without much effort, then got his hands around my throat and started choking me.
Started
I was
strangling
fighting
him.
for my
up.
life, clawing at his hands and trying to get him off of me, when I saw the first guy crawling towards us. He had
What do
something
you
in
mean
his hand that
crawling?
looked
It's a
like
knife. Yep.
And in that moment, I realized I'd made a grave mistake by trying to play hero.
Yeah.
A mistake that was going to cost me my life. I genuinely thought those might be the final moments
That it was
of my
over.
life. I started accepting that I was going to die in my parents' bedroom.
Right.
All I could think about was how devastated my mom would be when she found out.
Right.
But then, in the background,
You heard the
I
police.
faint sound of police
Yep.
sirens approaching. The last thing I remember is the second guy picking up my baseball bat and
Yep.
swinging it at
Yep.
my head. Everything went black after that. When I woke up, someone was shaking me gently.
It was the police. Oh my gosh.
Can you support an Ethereum restart? Lily, she's that smart support who...
I opened my eyes to see a police officer kneeling beside me, asking if I was okay. I was dazed and confused, and it took me several seconds to remember what had happened. I looked around the room and saw that the door connecting my parents' bedroom to the backyard was wide open.
Right.
The intruders had clearly knocked me out and fled through the back when they heard the sirens.
Of course.
The officer told me to stay put and not to move too much in case I was concussed or had other injuries.
I need a second ring light.
I had a raging
Key light.
headache, but I was conscious and coherent, which seemed like a good sign. Once the paramedics confirmed that I was okay, I refused to go to the hospital despite their recommendations.
Well, you got
The
hit in the
officers
head.
had
Why would
detailed
you
account
not
of what
go?
happened.
You know what? I get it. That's
They
a
told me
hospital
they
bill.
were currently searching the neighborhood for suspects, but by the time they'd arrived, the men were already long gone.
Right. Of course.
After the police finished their investigation and took some photos of the scene, I called my parents and brother to let them know what had happened. My parents yelled at me pretty harshly for being stupid enough to confront those guys.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I deserved it.
So stupid.
Had I just done the smart thing and hid, there's a good chance the police would have been able to apprehend the perps.
That's not true. They would have already
The
taken
men
their
were
stuff
never
and
found,
did.
despite the police canvassing the neighborhood and following up on a few leads. My parents installed a comprehensive security system the moment they got back from the shore house.
Right.
Complete with cameras, motion sensors, lights, the whole nine. The days after the break-in, something kept bothering me about the whole situation. All the doors to my house were locked that night, and the only way to open the garage door was through a little button in my car that my dad had programmed to be a wireless switch. There was no way anyone would just stumble upon it. Whoever had broken in that night had known me or my family well enough to know where that button was. Up until that moment, I never locked my car when it was in the driveway either, so that's something the culprits would have had to know as well.
Dude, they make it seem so deep, like he was targeted specifically. It's not that deep, man. You left your car, like this has been happening in my, well, it stopped recently, but this was happening in my neighborhood a little bit ago, where kids would just go through and just jimmy on car doors to see what, and this is a common tactic. Like this I hate to say it, but this is a person that's not like me, you know what I'm saying? It's one of y'all folks. It's like, oh, it's a safe neighborhood. I don't gotta lock my cars. Like, what are we doing? What are you talking about?
Even more
That
concerning
ass?
was the timing. They somehow knew that my parents would be away for the weekend, that my brother was out of town.
Bro, have you not seen like Home Alone or like anything that happens here? These people, if they were actually just like wanting to rob specifically you, know these things. They know these patterns. They know like, hey, these people is gonna be gone. Let's go on ahead and get it. Or oh, hey, everybody's out for the night. We seen them all leave earlier. Now's our chance to get in. They ain't coming back tonight. Like it's not some grand plan of, oh, we know you and your family and well, this is specifically targeted at you guys. No, relax.
I don't live in that house anymore, but my parents were never able to determine who had broken in.
Because they don't know
It's
who
actually
it was.
something that made my dad really paranoid for a long time, since he too thought that whoever had broken in was close to the family in some way.
No.
I'm not going to go as far as to say that night changed me forever or anything cliche like that.
Grow up.
But I will say one thing. Life before and after you've accepted you're going to die are two very different things. I can
Grow
still
up.
remember that feeling of thinking it was the end for me. It just felt so dissociating. Nothing can replicate that feeling.
See, so here's the thing, right? We'll give my 2 cents on this. You didn't that this could have been prevented in so many ways. The first thing, lock your car. Wow. That's a revolutionary idea. If my car is outside of my house that has a way to access inside of my house, let me lock it to make sure it's at least deterrent for them to break into the house, right? If they can't get in the car, they can't get in the house. That simple. Okay, number 2, as soon as you heard the garage open, you should have been calling people. Moms, pops, brothers, where everybody at? Y'all ain't here? Okay, cool. Hung up 911 immediately. Not none of this, oh, I waited, and then, oh, the hoop-de-hoo, and oh, I figured it was 2 guys I didn't know, so then I called the police. No, you had so much time to figure that out. As soon as you start hearing the garage open, it might just be me being paranoid, but if I know nobody's supposed to be home, and people start opening garages, I'm already on the phone. I hear, it's still done. He says it's a full 10 seconds for that joint to, fully open. In that 10 seconds, you could call somebody, and if it doesn't answer immediately, not them, because they would be awake already, like, there on their phone, or at least have access to their phone, right? But then, calling the police and leaving your phone on, W. Grabbing a bat, W. Should have grabbed a knife, is the second thing, and then just not have confronted them. That was stupid. That's so dumb. Like, people in these stories just lack common sense. They're low IQ, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And then he made it all paranoid, like they was coming after him directly. That just doesn't even make any sense to me.
This happened
Victim
about 6 months
complex.
ago, and
Okay.
I'm still shaken up by how calculated and personal the whole thing was.
Dude, like, a lot of these folks gotta understand. Again, it's not one of us, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these people gotta understand. It's not that deep. You were an easy target, so they robbed you. It's not like, oh, these people was implanted into my life way back when I was a kid. They were secretly plotting, getting to know the layout of my house, getting close to moms and pops, making sure that they're all buddy-buddy. They share garage code secrets, and, oh, they come over to the house every once in a while to house sit if we're gone. Like, we built up a friendship. Like, oh, no, it's not that deep, man. They didn't have some lifelong plan to one day rob you of, like, $1,000 worth of merchandise. Like, relax, chill out. You're bugging.
I had recently moved back to my hometown to help care for my aging mother, who lives about 20 minutes away from me.
Okay.
I found this small duplex that was perfect for my situation, close enough to get to her quickly if needed, but
Right.
far enough that I still had my own space and independence.
If you're not in the
My
same
mom has
house,
been
you
having
have your
some
own
health
space and
issues lately.
independence.
Nothing life-threatening, but she's had a few minor falls around the house.
Okay.
And she's stubborn about accepting help. I'd been trying to convince her to get one of those medical alert systems.
Life
She
alert.
insists she doesn't need one and that I'm just being overprotective.
Everybody
It's
should
been a
have life
constant
alert.
source of stress for me, especially knowing that she's alone most of the time. On this particular evening, I was just settling in for the night. It was around 9 p.m., and I was on the couch watching TV when my phone rang.
Okay.
The caller ID showed a local number that I didn't recognize.
Okay.
And since I was still relatively new to the area, I figured it might be important and answered. The woman on
What?
the other end identified herself as a nurse at a
Why would you
local
think it's
emergency room.
important?
She said my mother had been brought in about an hour ago after taking a fall and
You know
hitting
what?
her head.
That makes sense. That's
According
on
to
me.
her,
Never mind.
my mom was conscious but asking for me, and they wanted to know if I could get to the hospital quickly. I was horrified. This was exactly the kind of call I'd been dreading since moving back.
Right.
I didn't doubt the legitimacy of the call for 1 second. The woman on the other end knew my mother's full name, her address, and even mentioned her recent hip replacement surgery from a few months ago. I immediately stopped what I was doing, trying to keep calm and let.
Okay, so see, this could be taken a couple of ways, right? On one hand, yes, that's giving you enough information to know, like, beyond a reasonable doubt, right? Reasonable being the key word, that this is a legitimate call. Well, you know what? Actually, let's see where this
myself
goes.
by saying a silent prayer. I didn't even think about locking up the house. I just grabbed my keys, pulled the front door shut behind me, and raced to my car.
Okay.
The drive to the hospital was a nightmare.
See, so now we've opened up two different issues, right? The first issue, which is how you're gonna get robbed, is you left the house unlocked. That's an L take. Like, I get it, right? You're in a hurry, rush, whatever. Make sure your stuff is locked up, or else you're gonna lose everything, literally everything. They'll take your social, they'll take your wallet, your money, your jewels, your valuables, your TV, all that shit. It's gone by the time you get back. And then you potentially have lost your mothers, and you've potentially lost your place of peace and solitude where you could process this. So now you're out everything. But other than that, you had a drive to the hospital. Did you not think at that time to just be like, hey, moms, you really in the hospital? Like, give a call. Like, hey, want to make sure my phone goes directly to voicemail. Like, make sure that if they answer, turn back around and say, oh, this is fraud. Moms, be careful. If it's not, they don't answer. Okay, I'm continuing to the place, continuing to the hospital. That's crazy.
I kept running through
Let me
scenarios
hold my
in my
second
head,
mic,
and
my
only a
fake
few
mic.
of them were remotely good. When I got to the ER, I rushed up to the reception desk and told them I was there for my mother. I gave them her name and said I'd received a call about her fall. The nurse looked confused and checked her computer, then told me there was no record of anyone by that name
Exactly.
being admitted or treated that evening.
Could have called.
I insisted there had to be some mistake, since I had just gotten a call from someone claiming to be a nurse there. The receptionist was sympathetic but firm. They had no record of my mother being brought in, and they suggested I try calling her directly to make sure she was okay.
Should have done that
So that's
first.
what I did. I stepped outside and called my mom's landline, and she answered.
Wow. Who
She
would
said
have
she'd
thought?
been sleeping and wanted to know why I was calling so late. I didn't want to scare her, so I just said I was checking up on her and told her to go back to bed.
Right.
And that's when the heart-sinking realization hit me. This had
This
been a
was
setup.
planned, yeah.
Someone had deliberately given me false information to get me out of my house. I jumped back in my car,
then you left it
furious
unlocked.
that
They're
I'd been
already
tricked so
gone.
easily. When I pulled into my driveway, the front door was still closed, just like I'd left it. For a moment, I thought maybe I was being paranoid and nothing had happened.
Wrong.
But the moment I stepped inside, I knew I'd been robbed.
Yep, exactly. Everything. Oh my gosh, man.
People all around the world clean water.
Bro, Team Water is also a scam.
The house
This is a little tangent about that, by the way. So we're going to pause this for a second. Team Water is the biggest scam of all time. First of all, $1 gives one person clean water for a year. Bro, you can't even get a bottle of water. Some of these brands for $1 a bottle. What do you mean you're going to provide clean water to one person a year for $1? So if they're doing $40 million, that's 40 million people with clean water for 1 year. How are they sustaining that? How are they getting this water? How are they treating it? Like, how are they making sure? How did they get to the number that they're doing that, right? And then they have the whole Aiden Ross XQC fiasco where Mr. Beast was just shown to be a bad person, like corporate, money hungry, just soulless kind of person. and it was all weird. He was having him do weird things. Like, he's turned into one of those people that you see in these movies. It's like, oh, they take these people and they hunt them for sport, except he's using the hunting for sport as entertainment. Like, oh, if you do this, you'll get $1 million, you get 500 racks, you get a private island, you get a plane, you get a fucking car, something like that. Like, he's doing that in real life and just calling it content. But bro's sadistic. It's crazy.
House had been completely ransacked. My TV
Yep.
was gone,
Yep,
along with my
told you.
laptop and small jewelry collection.
Yep, jewels and TV. I told you. And that's not because I rob people, and that's not because it's ingrained in my DNA, right? That is just standard 101. Don't be crazy.
I realized the thieves had taken some really strange things too. Family photos had been
Okay.
removed from their frames. Not the frames themselves,
Just the
just the
pictures?
actual photos. My prescription bottles from the bathroom medicine cabinet
Okay,
had
so
been
they're
emptied and
junkies.
taken.
Right on.
It was insane. They had taken things that had relatively little monetary value, yet huge sentimental value to me. It was sadistic, I'm telling you.
Mr.
There's
Beast.
no reason a thief would ever take family photos. There just isn't. I called the police immediately, but I was already feeling defeated at that point. Deep
See,
down, I knew the thieves
and
were
that
wrong,
was
but
another thing. While after you call moms, hey moms, just want to make sure you're good. You good? Cool. Beep. You know what I'm saying? Okay, hey police, go ahead, head over to this address real quick. I think I'm being robbed. Just go ahead, meet me there. And then that's when you do that all the way there. Like, what are we
there
doing?
was nothing I could do about it. I told the police everything.
Right?
I remembered the phone call verbatim, and after hearing it, the police reached the same conclusion I had.
It was a setup.
Whoever had been on the other end had known things about my mother and I that no stranger could possibly know. For the life of me, I couldn't even come up with a list of people who would have that information, or even ways that someone could have gotten that information in the first place. The officers told me to feel free to call back whenever I had something concrete. Then they left. I was utterly baffled. Just imagine how unsettled you'd feel if some stranger knew enough about you to lure you out of your house. The theft itself was bad enough, but the fact that they targeted family photos and medical information suggested it wasn't just about quick cash. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were planning something longer term, possibly identity theft or some other scheme that required personal documentation. But over the next few weeks, nothing else happened. Even though my mother, quote, can't remember who she might have talked to about her personal info, I'm pretty confident that she's the source of the leak.
Yeah.
She surprisingly
Happens
has a
every
lot
time.
of friends for a woman her age, and knowing her, she probably said too much to the wrong person. I've warned my mother about that very thing, and she's finally agreed to be more careful about who she gives personal information to. But I can't shake the feeling that we're still being watched by someone who knows way too much about our lives, and isn't finished with whatever they're planning. Either way, I recently got a Ring camera, so
Okay.
hopefully that's enough of a deterrent.
It won't
If
be.
anything else happens, I'll
I'll be
send an
sending an
update.
update. Yeah. You'll send an update. So, recap on how I would have handled this situation, right? You get the call from the nurse. Hey, mom's is taking a fall, all of that stuff, like blah, 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 blah. Help the hoop-de-hoo. My first thing that would be going off in my head is, you can't be giving out all that information about my mom's. You can say you're her emergency contact. Please get here when you get the chance. Not going into her back history, right? Because now that's in HIPAA. Now we're breaking the law. So we hang up. Cool, I'll be over there shortly. We hang up. Call moms. Hey, moms, did you fall? You good? Oh yeah, she's good. Cool. Goodbye. Boop. Calling the police. Hey yo, can you just come over to my house a little bit? I just want to make sure we all good. And then I would leave the house. I would make sure I lock it. And then I leave, right? I don't go too far. But I would wait like 5-10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Give the police some time to get there. When I leave, don't go too far. Just make sure I can get back to the house. And then, just let everything run its course. Police get there. Oh, they caught him in the act, whatever. Oh, police got there and they decided not to go in, whatever. Call it a day. Nothing happened. Cool. Go back in. Call that number back. Hey, bro, I don't know what this is. Don't ever contact me again. You do this again, I'm finna kill you. Like, that's it. It's over. Like, you break into my house, it's over for you. That's how my situation would have gone. But if I followed their same trail, we would have branched off a couple of different ways. We run out the house. I always make sure I lock the door. It's literally like extra 2 seconds. They're already at the hospital. They're already with the doctors. There's nothing I can do about it. So we extra 2 seconds, lock the door. We zoom in on the way there. On the way there, call moms. Hey, mom, you there? No, I'm not. Okay, whip turned around immediately. It's a setup, calling the police on the way back. Or I do what he did. Go to the hospital, ask a thing. Oh, hey, mom here? Nope. Cool. Walk out, call moms. You there? Nope, I'm asleep. Cool. Hang up, police, drive back. Let it all unfold. But at some point, these people just aren't making phone calls in a timely manner. They're just stupid. It doesn't make sense.
I'm a single guy in my early 30s, and I've been living alone in this rented house for over a year now.
Okay.
It's a nice little place in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's comfortable and the rent is reasonable.
So now that he's over
I've gotten
30,
into a
I'm
good
expecting
routine
some
here
common
and really
sense.
feel like I'd made it my home. The incident happened on a Thursday night around 11:30.
Okay.
I was getting ready for bed when I heard aggressive pounding on my front door.
Calling the police right there.
Not knocking, but actual pounding, like someone was trying to break it down. I looked out the window, but couldn't see much because of how poorly the porch light is positioned. Despite not being able to see who it was and the aggressiveness of the knocking, I'm a pretty buff guy, so I wasn't scared or anything.
Muscles don't stop
More so
bullets. I'm calling the
irritated and
police.
confused. I opened the front door, careful to keep the screen door shut as an added layer of protection. I'm not sure what I was expecting to see, but what I did see was surprising to say the least.
Did I say I was expecting some common sense? I guess I'm boo-boo the fool, because what are we talking about? It's 11:30 at night, man, and you're opening the door, and all you have is a screen door. Bit Michael Myers gonna come through with the machete. Whoosh, it's over. Like, what itty bitty screen door gonna do? You're dumb.
There was this extremely
What?
agitated man standing there.
It's
He looked to
me.
be maybe a few years older than me. He was
I'm not
average
older than
height,
30 though.
had
Come on,
disheveled
son.
hair, and was wearing clothes that looked like they had been slept in multiple nights in a row.
Right.
But what really caught my attention was how angry and unstable he seemed.
And the fact he had a knife.
His eyes were darting around, and he was breathing heavily like
Okay,
he'd
he's
been
on
running,
drugs.
or was having some kind of panic attack. He was also pacing around, like he couldn't keep his feet on the ground. Before I could even ask what he wanted, he started yelling that this was his house and demanding that I let him in. He said I was trespassing and that he was going to call the police if I didn't
Okay,
get out
call him.
immediately.
Do it.
I thought he was either on drugs or having some kind of mental health crisis.
Both.
Or maybe a combination of the two.
Yes, sir.
I tried to calm him down and explain
do
that he
that.
had the wrong house, but he became even more agitated. That's when he started rattling off details about the house that made me freeze up. I don't even remember everything he said, but he knew several things about the house that you couldn't observe from outside it.
Okay.
Details that only someone who had actually lived there would know. Like, for example, he knew that the door for the master bedroom is poorly designed and bangs into the toilet. He knew that the back door sticks and you have to lift it slightly while turning the doorknob.
Okay.
There was some other stuff too, but I really can't remember it all.
Okay.
I don't think I even said anything while he was talking. I was just standing there in shock. But that was only the
Should have called the
beginning.
police.
It was about to get much, much weirder. Through the screen door, he pulled out a folder and started showing me documentation. He had what appeared to be a lease agreement with his name on it, dated from about 6 months before I'd moved in. He had pieces of mail addressed to him at this address.
Oh.
Everything looked official, though I suspected it had been forged somehow.
Me too.
But the most unsettling part was when he pulled out his phone and started showing me photos. They were literal pictures of him inside my house, sitting on my current couch watching TV, cooking in the kitchen, even lying down in what was
Alright.
now my bedroom.
Yeah.
Photos looked recent and completely legitimate. They weren't obviously photoshopped or staged, and most of them weren't solo.
See,
They
this
had
is
other
difficult.
people in them, all of whom I'd never seen before. He showed me one photo that he claimed was from this past 4th of July, just a few months ago. It was a selfie taken by a woman I didn't recognize.
Okay.
In it, the woman, him, and a few other people were facing the camera and smiling at the kitchen table. There was a box of fireworks off to the side, and the detail and context of the picture made it look completely authentic. That's when I genuinely started questioning my own memory and sanity.
So somebody's
How could
tweaked
this
out.
person have all this evidence if they never lived here? I started wondering if I somehow blocked out memories of sharing the house with someone, and if I was the one having some kind of psychological breakdown. It was freaky, especially since I knew for a fact that I had been home on the 4th of July, So
That's
the pictures
crazy.
made even less sense. The whole situation was so surreal that I told them I was going to call the police to sort everything out. Not even in an antagonistic way. I just didn't know what else to do.
Okay, see.
I figured they could check the
W
records
logic.
and determine what was going on. But the moment I mentioned calling the cops, the guy's demeanor changed completely. He suddenly became very calm and said he'd wait outside while I made the call.
Cool.
Then he just walked away from the door and disappeared into the darkness. I watched from the window,
That's
and I couldn't
sketchy.
see where he went.
Did you call the
When the
police?
arrived
Okay.
about 10 minutes later, I explained the whole bizarre situation. They told me I should try reaching out to my landlord to get in contact
Yeah,
with the
like-
previous tenants, and that I might get some answers that way. I had all the required documentation proving I was renting this house.
Oh,
When
no,
I
he
offered to
didn't
show
think
it
of
to them,
calling
they
the
waved it off.
landlord first.
They said whoever had been on my doorstep was probably just going through a mental episode, and as long as they were gone, I should just carry on with my life. Then they left. I wasn't just going to sit there and be satisfied with that, though. Whether or not that guy had left still left the question of how in the world he had all that evidence.
Movavi Video Editor is an easy tool for
Dude, I
beginner
don't
creators
care
like
about
you.
Movavi, bro. I'm not spending no bread.
With my landlord's help, I was eventually able to get in contact with the previous tenants. I should mention that my landlord had no idea what had happened either, and said he didn't know anyone matching that guy's description, and had never rented to anyone like that. But anyway, the old tenants also had no idea who I was talking about. They said they'd never lived with anyone matching his description, and they'd lived in the house alone for 3 years before moving out. They were just as confused as I was about how this stranger could have such detailed knowledge of the house, and apparently legitimate photos of himself inside of it. For the next 2 weeks, I was constantly on edge, but nothing happened, and I started to think that
Ooh, my
maybe
bad.
it had just been some elaborate
Bro
scam
has
that had
schizophrenia,
failed.
actually.
But of course, that turned out to be mostly wishful thinking. One night, I came home from a night on the town with my friends to find my house completely ransacked. It wasn't like a typical burglary where someone grabs obvious valuables and runs. The place was completely turned upside down, like someone had been looking for something specific. What that thing was, I had no idea. The craziest part is that most of my electronics and other valuable items were still there, despite the fact that the rooms they were in were completely trashed. The police found no signs of forced entry, which suggested that whoever did it had a copy of my key. Given the timing and connection to the strange incident 2 weeks earlier, it seemed obvious that the same person was responsible. The police took things more seriously after that, and so did my landlord. He replaced all the locks in the house immediately and free of charge, and also installed additional security measures. The going theory, and the one I believe, is that some crazy person really does believe he lives in my house and broke in to look for his personal belongings or something.
Right.
And okay, sure, that's problematic enough on its own, but that does absolutely nothing to explain how he had all that documentation, let alone literal copies of my house key. I wish I had the sense to take a closer look at that so-called lease agreement he had shown me, because I might have been able to get his name. But in the moment, I just wasn't thinking clearly. The documents don't even bother me that much. All that stuff could have been easily forged or altered, including the alleged pieces of mail. What freaks me out to my core, though, are the pictures. I have no explanation for any of that stuff. It's possible they're really old pictures whose dates are doctored, but even if that's the case, it still doesn't explain how my landlord, who's owned that house his entire life,
Has no
didn't
idea who he
recognize him.
is. Yeah.
One of my friends suggested that I'm up against something not fully natural. I don't believe in that kind of stuff, but I will say that I've had this constant creepy feeling hanging over me whenever I'm in my own home, which is most
See,
of the
this
time.
was difficult.
I can't even begin to rationalize the whole thing. I just hope that's the end of it.
See, so I'll do this one too, but that last one is difficult, right? Because there's not really much you can do at that point. Like, you got... I'm going to stick with my thing that it's either schizophrenia or... Nothing supernatural. Is schizophrenia or some dude that's just bugged out of his mind. Like, he's tweaking, and just is taking every opportunity that he can to get into the house. But there's really nothing that I would have changed or done differently in that situation. Like, I would have called the police a little bit quicker, you know what I'm saying? As soon as I hear banging, I wake up, hello, police, somebody's breaking in. Bam. And then they get here while I'm talking to the dude. But other than that, man, it's just, that's tough. He's schizophrenic or just a bum that's bugging. That's tough. Shout out Mr. Nightmare though. This is my goat for real. I've been listening to his stories driving. That shit's goated.